and get started. Our apologies, we do have some handouts for you, but I guess there was an accident just a few blocks away from here, and our people are on the other side, and so they will be here, so we'll have some things to give you, and we'll do our best to kind of guide you along as with the information that we're going to be presenting to you. But we do have some information that's coming. And first of all, we do want to thank you for being here for this town hall meeting. And what I'd like to do is, my name is Rick Lopes, I'm with the Contractors State License Board. And we are a state agency responsible for regulating the construction industry. And so we'll have a lot of good information. We have some other agencies that are here as well. What I'd like to do is just have some brief introductory remarks from Nancy Springer, who is one of our board members. Nancy is also a local. She lives here in Browns Valley and is the chief building official in Butte County. So we're going to have Nancy say a few words to get us going.
Thank you, Rick. Hello, everyone. Just want to say thank you for joining us here tonight and for the latest in the series of town hall meetings for those of you who have survived the Cascade Wildfire. Also, thank you to Yuba County Office of Emergency Services for this assistance with setting up tonight's meeting and for the tireless work that has been put in by the local officials, departments over the past 3 months. Also, just a quick briefing on, so the Contractor State License Board is made up of 15 members, and I'm one of those representing the building official group, but they have public members, they have contractors that are represented. It also, we serve 282,000 contractors, which is over more than 40 different licensing classifications. We work closely with the local, the state, and the federal partners to kind of make sure that they're doing the right things, following the rules, and protecting the consumers. And we're here to try to help you through this really rough time period of rebuilding. So when it comes to rebuilding, we understand that it can be a little daunting. The process can be a little confusing. We want to help you get through that process as quickly as we can and encourage you to not rush through that process. You're going through a lot. You're trying to take a lot in. These are going to be long-term decisions that you're making. This is your homes, places where you live and work. And so just make sure that you take time to make decisions as you go through the process. Other agencies joining us tonight are the Yuba County Community Development Department. They will update you on what's happening in the county as it relates to the rebuilding. The California Department of Insurance, and they will talk about insurance issues, including how to work with your insurance company through the process, as well as we'll hear from the California Architects Board. They'll talk to you about how to hire and work with an architect. So we've set up some time so that you can have questions in the end. So I'm going to turn it back over to Rick, and I want to thank you again for joining us today and allowing us to come in and help you.
Thanks, Nancy. If I could just take a minute to kind of, quiz all of you who are here tonight to kind of give us an idea of just kind of where you are in the process, so we hopefully can gear our comments towards you. How many of you here have actually did lose your home? Okay, so overwhelming amounts. Are some of the folks here just had damage, or is, okay. How many of you are still working with your insurance companies as far as trying to reach settlements and working through that process? Okay. Have any of you either hired an architect or are looking to hire an architect? Possibility of that? Okay. How about with contractors? Is anybody looking to hire a contractor at this point yet? Have they already hired a contractor? Okay. And how many have been approached by contractors, whether they're either licensed, unlicensed, somebody trying to bid or get you to sign them up? That's actually surprising. Okay. Okay. Well, that's a good sign. Normally, we see right after a disaster like this, is we see a lot of them coming out of the woodwork, either from out of state or in licensed contractors. That's one of our biggest warnings. But it sounds like, we try to do a lot of education on the front end. So if you're not getting approached by a lot of people, that's actually a very good sign and very hopeful for us. So, as Nancy said, we do want to start tonight by giving you the latest information on what's happening here in Yuba County. Kevin Mallon is the director of the Yuba County Community Development Department. Kevin.
All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Rick. So Yuba County Community Development, we're 4 departments within the county that hopefully serve all of your needs when it comes to the rebuilding process. We are the Public Works Department, the Building Department, the Environmental Health Department, and the Planning Department. And so collectively, we're called the Community Development Department. And we're definitely going to do our best to help everybody have as seamless and hopefully as low of effort as possible in getting through the process of, at least through the county's process of being able to rebuild your homes. I did want to make sure that everybody's aware that we have staff available Monday through Friday available to answer questions. I know I see there's quite a few familiar faces out here tonight. I've seen you in here using our services, and that's great. You know, I hope you're getting what you need when you come to the counter to get your questions answered. We also have our county website. We're trying to do our best to get as much information as possible out on that website so that you don't have to come in and you can just, hopefully just a couple clicks away from getting your questions answered that way. One thing that the county's been working on with local developers, let me kind of step back. So the rebuilding process, typically when you build a home, you have to have a set of plans to build that home. And those plans need to meet certain standards, certain codes. There's quite a few builders in Yuba County that build the same home over and over again. You know, they call it like a production builder. And those plans are, we approve on a what we call a master plan basis. So we approve that plan and then we let that builder replicate it over and over again. So we have several builders in Yuba County that we reached out to that have agreed to share those approved master plans with survivors of the Cascade Fire, those that have lost their homes. And so the county has put those up on our website. And it's something that there's quite a few different floor plans to choose from small homes up to larger homes, 1-stories and 2-story homes, that builders are willing to share free of charge to those that want to use them. And I point that out because it's a process. It'll help expedite your process as far as rebuilding. It obviously saves you costs because you don't have to hire an engineer or architect to draw those plans. And it's as simple as we have a form for you to sign that you're kind of accepting responsibility for those plans that are being donated by these builders. So I did want to make everybody aware of that. It's something new. I'm actually not sure if any other county has done that through a recovery process, but we were able to work through. There was a few hurdles to go over when people are sharing engineers and architects' products, but we were able to work through that for you. So please take a look at those. If it's something you're interested in, please take a look at the website. You can take a look at the floor plans, and we can go from there with you. I did also want to mention there was a few comments from our Facebook posts that we wanted to make sure we clarified. So the county board of supervisors immediately after the fire adopted a resolution that waived all of the county fees associated with the rebuilding effort. And so I wanted to make sure that was clear, that the county is not charging you any of the typical fees that are associated with building a home.
Yeah, does
yes.
that include a demolition permit?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So yeah, any county fee, and it goes beyond just the building permit fees. It would be fees that maybe the clerk of quarters office would have normally charged you to obtain a copy of a document. Yeah.
Does that also include a prefab home?
Yes, all fees. Now, your question was related to fees? Okay, just wanted to make sure. So I just wanted to make sure that people were aware of that. On the fee waiver, now it is a like for like. We've had a couple people that have had issues where maybe they had an accessory structure burned down that wasn't permitted originally. Then there isn't really a credit for what you're replacing because we didn't have that structure on record to begin with. So I did want to make sure people are aware that the fees being waived are related to the structures, the permitted structures that were lost. It would be the same for like a home. If your permitted home was 2,000 square feet, we're waiving all fees associated with building a similar type home, similar sized home that you're replacing. But I did want to make sure people were aware of the fee waiver and what the county is trying to do to help out in that effort as well. Yes.
So if you're building a slightly larger house, I think we're adding 600 and something square feet, 700 square feet larger than the original plan. So we would have to pay fees above the original square feet?
So what the county's done is we have kind of a 500 square foot variance. So if you're within 500 square feet of what was permitted previously, no additional fee. When you go up above that, so for your example there, it's 600 square feet. Like the building permit fee is $58 per 100 square feet when you go above. So you'd be paying $58. I mean, so it's a fairly small amount of money relative to what you typically pay. But yeah, we kind of created that because we understand that people aren't going to build exactly, down to the square foot what they lost, and so that's why we have a 500 square foot variance.
How about
Yes.
the school fees? Are they just calculating everything over the 500?
Over the 500, right? And it would be the same with the fire fee as well.
Well, we lost the whole entire everything on the property. The only thing standing there was a chimney. Instead of building the house out of wood, could you build it out of block and rock like the chimney was built, so that you could come home to a home if they build another fire?
Yeah, the type of construction, well, that won't change the fee waiver process.
All right. Thank you.
I know we're going to have Q&A at the end, and I want to make sure we have enough time for the other speakers. But unless there's any other quick questions, I think we'll move on to the next speaker, and then at the end.
What about inspection fees?
Yes, that's all part of the permitting fee process. Okay, just wanted to make sure. Yeah, when we say no fees, yeah, we mean no. All right. So, Rick, did I see? Yep. All right.
Thank you, Kevin. And we are going to, we do have set some time aside at the end tonight for more questions. So if you do have more questions, there's certainly going to be plenty of opportunities. What I'm going to do, though, is I'm actually going to take a couple minutes. My other staff person, Jane Crowder, has gotten here, so we do have some of the handouts. Just so you know, we love having the bigger crowd, but it was bigger than we had expected. So we've got about 60 handouts of just the material I'm going over. If by chance you don't get it, if you can just get us your email address, I'd be happy to email you the information so you'll have it. Or I can work with somebody to get to if you need hard copies. But we have plenty of other educational materials that you can get as well. So I just want to take a couple minutes because it's going to be helpful if you have this in your hands as we go through and talk a little bit about contracting. So if you can just give us a couple moments, we'll try to get these in your hands as quickly as we can. As they hand those out, we'll at least go ahead and get started. You'll be able to catch up because there's a lot of information to go over. What I'm going to try to do as we talk about the contracting process is I'm going to try to just give you some kind of general information because it's going to be very difficult for you to remember or be able to write down everything we talk about. But I'm going to tell you some of the main things that you should be looking out for, some of the laws that are in place to protect you. Then the written materials will give you kind of support that. The other educational materials will support that too. So don't feel like you got to take everything down. It's a lot of information. It can be a very complex thing, rebuilding a house. And so we understand that. And I don't want to overload you with too much because you're going to get a lot of information here. So what I want to start by having you focus on is one of the first things, and it sounds like from what we said before, pretty much everybody is looking at a complete rebuild. The county has their own definitions of what's considered either new construction or home improvement. So what I'm talking about is not that. It's actually the definitions for the Contractors Board. State law actually spells out the requirements that are in contracts, either for new construction or for home improvement. And the reason why it's such a big deal is because the requirements are different. So one of the first things as you look to hire a contractor that you're going to want to figure out is this going to be home improvement or is it going to be new construction? And so home improvement The way the Contractors Board defines that is that if there's any part of the existing single-family home, including a foundation, a chimney, any part of the house that's still remaining, it's intact, that when you go to rebuild, you're going to be actually reconstructing around that. You're going to be using it. So you have a wall, you have a chimney, you're going to make repairs, but you're not going to tear it down. That would be considered in our eyes to be a home improvement contract. So there's the laws that go into effect. As you see the handout, I give you a business and professions code. That's the law. It's probably a lot more technical than you're going to need to know. One of our items that we have here, an educational brochure, goes through the different parts of the contract. The main thing in a home improvement contract to help protect you is it spells it out as far as the costs. It says that as a down payment, so when you first hire a contractor for a home improvement contract, as a down payment, they can require you to pay no more than 10% or $1,000, whichever's less. So as you're getting approached from people with bids, if it is a home improvement, if there's still something remaining of your structure, and it's a home improvement contract, know that they cannot require you to pay more than that. So if they say, I need you to give me half the money so I can go buy materials, sign over your insurance check to me, do something so I can do it. The law doesn't allow them to do that, and you do not have to pay for that before, as part of the down payment. And then as the contract goes through, you should have progress payments. At a certain point in the job, when something's done to your completion, you will pay them that amount of money. When the next item is done to your satisfaction, you should pay them that amount of money. The law says after the down payment, the contractor cannot require you to pay for any of their labor or for any of the materials, not to pay for the labor before the work is done, or for the materials before those materials are actually delivered to your job site. So if you have somebody saying they need you to front them the money so they can go buy the materials, that's against the law. It puts you at a great risk, because if you do pay them the money and they turn around and they don't buy that material, or they just disappear on you, you're out that money, and it's much more difficult to get that money back once you've already paid it to them. So be aware, besides the down payment, which is a small number to protect you, 10% or $1,000, don't pay for any work that's before the work is done, or for any materials before those materials are delivered. And the other thing that's the difference between the home improvement and new construction, which I should define. The new construction is when there's no remaining parts of the single-family dwelling. Now, it's important that we're only talking about the single-family dwelling. I don't know if anybody here, it's either apartment complexes, commercial buildings, things like that. They're actually, if anybody has those, the state law does not spell out any contract requirements for those. The legislature believes that the people that have businesses or commercial properties are a little bit more adept at being able to sign contracts and get things done right. It's the homeowners, the single-family homes, where all of our efforts are put, because those are the people most at risk. So if you do have new construction, no part of the single-family dwelling is remaining. So that means if they come in, you do the debris clearing, everything is gone, you've got a bare piece of land. There's no foundation, there's no chimney, there's nothing left. If that's the case, then it would be considered new construction. And for the Contractors Board purposes, the two things that are different from a home improvement contract, the first one is the down payment. There are no requirements, so they can ask for bigger down payments. So you have to be careful. We ask contractors to follow the 10% and the $1,000 rule, but if it's new construction, there is no requirement that limits that down payment. So legally, they may not be breaking the law, but you want to be very careful before you're giving them a lot of money up front. And hopefully, you've either got an account at your bank or working with your insurance company to tie that so that you're making payments along, that you're not letting the payments get in front of the work. So you want to be very careful about that. And the other difference between home improvement contracts and new construction contracts are the people who negotiate those contracts with you. I'm sorry, this is going to get, I hope this is not too technical. Contractors, the vast majority of contractors are usually one-person operations or very small operations. I'm sure a lot of the people who are contractors here in Yuba County, it might be them, they may hire some workers and that. They're small companies. Or they might be the bigger company. So a lot of times you're dealing with a small company, you might be dealing with the contractor himself. But if it's a bigger company, they may have salespeople who work for them. Now, if it's a home improvement contract, the law requires that those home improvement salespeople are registered with the Contractors Board. They have to undergo the same criminal background checks and things that the contractors need to go through. So if it's a bigger company and you're working with a salesperson, if it's home improvement, they need to be registered. If it's new construction, that law doesn't apply there. So there's no requirement that there's a registration there. So those are big things just to be aware of as you figure out the kind of job you're going to do. And I do want to note again that As far as code compliance, tax assessments, the counties may consider new construction and home improvement different because they take things like room additions, swimming pools, things that aren't really disaster related. So their definitions might be different. So my definitions I'm talking about is just strictly as far as the contracts and the requirements when you're hiring a contractor. Okay, so we're briefly going to go through just some of the main tips as you're looking. And I'm excited to share with you some information about actually a new web feature that we actually debuted on our website last night. And so it'll be the first time that we're hearing about this. The Contractors Board, recommends obviously that you only hire licensed contractors to do this work. In order to find out if a contractor's licensed, whenever you're looking at any kind of advertising, by law, they're required to have their contractor's license number in that advertising. So if you're looking at something online, you've got a flyer, you've got a brochure, you have a business card, you see the side of their truck where they've got the name of the company and their phone number. They, by law, are supposed to have their contractor's license number on there. So even before you call them out, you can go to our website or call a toll-free number we have, punch in the numbers, and you can check the license status, find out if they're a legitimate contractor, make sure they're not, let's say, a plumber who's trying to build houses. You want to make sure that they're licensed in the classification. For the most part, you're going to be dealing with what's called a B, which is a general contractor. They can subcontract different parts. They don't necessarily have to do the work themselves, but you're going to definitely want to be looking for the general contractors. So that's an easy way to check out their status, make sure they meet that first level of, okay, somebody is legit, I can at least call them out and talk to them. The new web feature I was talking about, in the past, we've only been able to give you the information about the license itself. Is it an active license? What's the license classification? Insurance information, which we'll get into, bond information, that kind of stuff. What we've just launched is a new feature which will actually be a good starting place for you. It's done by geographics. You can actually do a search and it will identify and give you a list of all the current licensed contractors in a specific area. So let's say that here in Loma Rica, you could go to the thing, you could put in, and if you look in, for those of you who have the handouts, it's right on our homepage. If you look to the page where it says CSLB website at the top and in the upper right it says instant license check. If you look down to the second one, it's called Find My Licensed Contractor. And so you do is you hit that search button, and as you go in, you put in that your location. You can either do it by city or by zip code. I'd recommend doing it city. It's just going to give you more names because the zip code search is limited to anybody in that specific zip code. So you put that in and the licensing classification. In this case, if you're looking for a B contractor, hit the search button and it will give you a randomly ordered list of all the people who have current licenses that are active. So a lot of times when you're going to the Angie's List and Home Advisors of the world, you don't necessarily know if those people are licensed. They say that they check them. They don't always check them. We use a lot of those resources as when we do sting operations. So there's no guarantee that the people are licensed. Ours is 100%. You're not going to find somebody on our list who's not licensed and has an active license. If their license is suspended or revoked, they're not going to show up on this search. So a good place to start is to go to the website, put in that criteria. You'll get a list. You can export that either to a PDF or to an Excel spreadsheet. Right from there, you can click on the license number. It'll take you right to the license information. So that's going to be, I think, a really useful way to help you get started and to identify the contractors who are based in your area. One of the honest limitations of it is if there's a contractor who's based in Los Angeles but does work here in Yuba County, they're not going to show up on the search because the search is done by where the company's address of record is. So it's only going to show the locally based contractors.
Does
Sir?
it also show that you had a complaint from that contractor?
What it does, and I'll go through that in a second, what the license lookup looks like, but yes, you will be able to get to that information as well. Okay, so that's the good thing to do it. And then also, as you see at the top of that, is where it says instant license check. There's 3 ways that you can actually look up the status of a contractor's license. So if you see a guy down the street, you see his truck, you write down the number, you can go to our website. On the homepage itself is what you see on the handout there. On the homepage, you can enter the contractor license number, do the search right from there. Very simple. If you happen to only know the business name or maybe the contractor's, his personnel name, you can also search that way. But as you can see on here, it says, don't know the license number, click here. You click on that, you go to a different page and it allows you either to do the search by business name or by personnel name. Now, not every person who works for a contractor is going to show up that. Only the people who are actually on the license. So it's going to be the qualifier or the contractor himself. If it's a corporation, they may have the officers on that license, so there's going to be other people. So the personnel one's a little tougher to search, but you certainly can, and it might take you a little longer to zero in on the contractor. And so once you do that search and come up, then you can go to the other handout, which has the CSLB website. The stuff on the right side, I realize it's really small, but it's a lot of information. What I've done here across the left side, it gives you an idea of the information you're going to get. And I used, for an example, actually a contractor in Marysville. This is one of our former board members, so I knew he had a clean license, so I wasn't afraid to put it up here. But looking from the top to the bottom here, the license number shows up at the top. So if you end up doing your search by business name or personnel name, you will be able to find that license number. And moving forward, that's a much better way to identify them. There's lots of John Smith contractors. There's lots. It gets real easy to confuse what license goes with what. So if you can actually work with the license number, that'll be helpful. As you move down, you can see the contractor's business name, their address, their phone number, the type of entity, that kind of stuff, not necessarily important. The next thing is the date they were issued the license and the date the license expires. Right below there, it'll show you that the current license status, and it'll be in green. It'll say, in this case, that the license is current and active. Now, in this case, it's one of our former board members, so we know it's a good license, but this is where you would see if there's complaint disclosure or legal actions we've taken against them. I showed it here on the left side, what would normally appear in that spot where the arrow goes to. So if there's actions that we've taken, whether it be we've issued a citation against them, we've got a legal action to take away their license, or maybe we've referred something to a district attorney for criminal charges, that's what you're going to see, and it's going to say their additional status. Click here for complaint disclosure information. You click on that, and it's going to take you, it's going to tell you if it's a citation. You can click on that, you can find out what the violations are. If it's a legal case, the actual paperwork, when it's filed, will actually come up there, and you can search if it's somebody's license that we're trying to take away. You can actually, read about the case. So you're going to find that there. So if you do not see something on there that says click here for complaint disclosure information, that means there's nothing disclosable. Not really for our purposes, not worth getting into. There's different levels. Every complaint that's filed with the board, there's certain levels that we can't disclose it to the public until certain points. We have to investigate. Otherwise, somebody could file a complaint against their competitor. So the law requires us to get to certain levels. If we find there are problems or something we think the consumer protection needs to be in place, we have the abilities to do a very early disclosure. But for the most part, that's going to happen later. So if you don't see disclosure on there, that means that there's nothing that's disclosable to the public right now. Below that, you see the classifications here. They've got a bunch of different, this is a big company, so they have a lot of different classifications. This is where you're going to want to see if it says C36 plumber and you want to hire them for something else, and that's going to be your disconnect right there if you don't see that they're licensed in the right classification. Underneath that is the bond information. All licensed contractors are required to carry a $15,000 surety bond or cash equivalent, but for your purposes, a surety bond that you might be able to file against if there is a problem. So that information is there. All licensed contractors carry it, so don't think, okay, this guy's good because he does carry it. Everybody carries it, but there you've got the information. In case you ever have to file against the bond, you can easily get that information there. The other huge part, and our colleagues from the Department of Insurance can talk more about this, that you want to be very careful about is you want to make sure to know if your contractor is carrying workers' compensation insurance. This basically is the type of insurance will cover those workers if they get hurt while they're on your property. By law, contractors have to do one of two things. They either have to give us their license, their insurance information, their policy information, or their insurance company sends it to us, or they have to file a paper with us that says they have no employees, therefore they're exempt. So if you're talking to a contractor and he says, yeah, I've got a crew of 10 people that are going to come out and work, and you check their license and it says it is exempt, they say they have no employees. That's going to be a disconnect that you're going to want to follow up. Now, it could be the case where they forgot to send it to the board and we can get that taken care of if they actually have it. But if that's not the case and he doesn't have it, I would not move forward with that contractor because they're putting you at risk. If somebody gets hurt on your property, there's a chance they could come after you for the medical payments for this person. So you want to be very careful and make sure that they've got insurance. And in this case, we provide you with the insurance company information. I would call them and try to find out because there's other contractors who frankly cheat and commit fraud, and they say they've got 2 employees to the insurance company, but they actually have 10 or 15, so not everybody's insured, so they're trying to mislead you to think, yeah, I've got a policy, but they don't have a policy, or they'll say they're office workers. These are people that aren't actually working out in the field, but they're actually working in the field. So just be aware of that. You do want to check that and feel comfortable. Then at the bottom there, we have a personnel list and other licenses. Sometimes companies can have more than one license. You get that information there. And then the personnel information that I mentioned, that's the things like who's the qualifier of that license and who is the, maybe other people in the corporation. I'm sorry, sir, did you have a question?
Yes, can't you get a policy yourself for workman's comp? Can't you pay for that for yourself, to cover you?
You're saying as the homeowner, can you pay for that? That might be a better question for the gentleman from the Department of Insurance, but the thing you can do is you can hire your own workers who don't have to be licensed, but the state considers you to actually be an employer. You would have to file with the Employment Development Department. You'd have to withhold payroll taxes. Then you could put, the workers' comp coverage on them, but then in essence they would be your employees, so you would have to comply with everything.
I built my house in '92, and I was owner-builder contractor myself, and we went and got our own workers' comp. We had to pay so much money for that.
Yeah, I would think so. That you can certainly go that route. I would think you would probably be the exception more than the rule, but you can go that way. But there are other requirements, as I said, as being considered an employer that you'd have to go through as well. Okay, so those are the basic things on what you can find on our website and how to go through that process. Okay, so now that you've got people coming out, here a quick idea, just some of the things that you're going to look out for. You want to be aware of the people who are saying that they're construction consultants, that they'll come out and they'll manage the job for you, but they actually don't have a license, but they can help you and they go through and they can bring all the different subcontractors. They can bring the framers in, they can bring the concrete people in, they can bring the electricians in. That actually is what a general contractor does. So if somebody says that they're a consultant, the law says that that's actually they have to have a license. So just to be aware, people are saying that, because when you ask them if they do have that license to show you, they're also required by law to carry a pocket license with them. So when they say, you want to make sure that they are asked to see their pocket license. It'll have their license number, their information, their classifications. It's just another way of making sure, and make sure that you ask them for a photo ID too. It's not unheard of that a contractor may let somebody else work under his license, which would be like you letting somebody else drive with your driver's license. It's something you can't do unless they're a bona fide employee. And so there are people out there that oftentimes we catch in sting operations that say, yeah, I'm working under his license. So you want to actually make sure that you ask for that pocket license so you can see it as well. As you go through to the point where you are bringing the different contractors out, we would encourage you to try to get bids from at least 3 different contractors. One of the challenges that we're going to have in this and all the other disaster areas in the state is there going to be enough contractors to go around, enough competent, qualified contractors? Not every contractor out there is competent at building houses. So there certainly is going to be a challenge. So we would encourage you to take your time and not just hire somebody because you think you're not going to find anybody else. It's going to be frustrating, but we would try to get you to avoid doing that. Try to get bids from at least 3 different contractors, and actually you want to see that they have the ability to do the work. If they give you references, you actually want to go see those references in person. Make sure it's not their buddy on the telephone saying, yeah, he was able to do that job just fine. You actually want to go out and see the work yourself. And when you actually come to the point where you're signing the contract, in most cases in the disaster area, you do have up to 7 business days in order to cancel that. Normally you only have a 3-day right to cancel, but in the disaster area you do have up to 7 days. And the other thing I talked earlier about the payments, how you don't want the payments to get ahead of the work that's being done. One of the things that you just want to be aware of is something that's called mechanics liens. We won't get into a lot of depth about that, but the law enables contractors to file mechanics liens if they don't get paid for the work that they do. So as you move through and actually are paying contractors, you want to actually get what's called a lien release form. Again, this is here. We've got information on that. You can get the forms from our website. But as you make those payments, you're going to want to get them to give you lien release forms, because then they can't turn around, and if they didn't pay the subcontractor, they can come back and file a lien on you. You want to protect yourself, and by getting those signed lien releases, you're going to be able to protect yourself so you won't have to pay twice. You do also want to make sure your contractor is the one that pulls all the permits, because that makes them responsible. As Joan mentioned, he did an owner-builder, so in that case, you would pull yourself, but don't let anybody a contractor talk you into pulling your own permits as an owner-builder. They're just trying to put the responsibility on you instead of on themselves to make sure if something doesn't pass inspections, if you're the one pulling the permits, you're the one that's responsible. If it's the contractor pulling the permits, The contractor is the one responsible. So you want to make sure they're the one who is actually pulling the permits, and you do want to try to be there whenever any inspections are happening. So those are some of the, the main things. Again, we do have a lot of the other materials that we have that we encourage you to take with us. We do have a disaster hotline that's available Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. On the sign here, you can see the phone numbers, the 800-962-1125. That actually goes into our call center at our headquarters in Sacramento. It bypasses the automated system. So even later on, after you guys rebuild and you ever need to get to the contractors board, the secret is, if you don't want to go through the automated system, keep that number. It's always active. But especially if you have any questions now, you're not sure about something, you see something, please get in touch with us, ask us. And one of the main takeaways we want you to know here tonight, and I think you've probably seen that over the last 3 months or so since the fires, is you're not alone here. There are a lot of people, not only at the local, state, and federal levels, that are here to help you. So if there's any questions, please look for any of our agencies that can help, and we'll be more than willing to do what we can to help you. Okay, so now we're going to turn our attention to insurance, and we've got, I know at least, do we have both of you here, or just you? Okay, so we have Rick Flores, who is a special investigator with the California Department of Insurance, who's going to be joining us now. Thanks.
Hey, good evening, everybody. How are we doing? So I'm Rick Flores. I'm with the California Department of Insurance, and I'm a special investigator out of the Sacramento Regional Office. We have regional offices up and down the state. This Sacramento is going to be the closest regional office to all of you up here. One of the main things I think that we wanted to cover tonight, and of course my colleague was supposed to join us, but he's behind that accident also, so I'm not sure he'll make it. But we do have some handouts and stuff for everybody to take home with them for some resources on their journey to rebuilding their homes. And I just want to know really quick, by a show of hands, how many people that lost their homes have made contact with their insurance company already? Okay, and how many of you of them do you guys have mortgages on your home? That's kind of important too. Yeah. How many people, after their fire happened in their home, did they get approached by somebody that claimed to be a public adjuster, or someone that offered to say, hey, I can get you more money for your claim, or offered to help you rebuild your home better than usual, better than before? Nobody? That's really good too, because sometimes those are predatory individuals that will come to your home and they'll try to get you to sign a contract that says, hey, if you work with us, we can help you get more money for your claim. We'll deal with your insurance company. And sometimes the instance is that they'll keep your insurance money and then they kind of hold you hostage and you don't have your house built. But for one thing I think that needs to be brought up and kind of talked about is that when you do have a mortgage on your home, that it's important to know that the contractors aren't going to get that full amount of money, and you're not going to get the full amount of money from the insurance company. So let's say they send out someone from your insurance company to say, to rebuild your home, it's going to cost $200,000, right? You're not going to get a check for $200,000 deposited into your bank account, especially if you have a mortgage on the property. The full check should go to your mortgage company directly. Once they have that check, they put it in an escrow account. From there, you should go out and find a licensed contractor, kind of like Rick was saying. When you do find that contractor, you do need to make sure that they do have a workers' comp policy with them, unless they're exempt. The reason for that is, like he mentioned earlier, if somebody falls and hurts themselves while repairing your home, you're liable. Also, they should have some sort of, I think, a general liability. Should have another sort of policy, from my understanding, from our consumer services. In case they ruin something else or your neighbor's property, they got to be able to cover that. I think you can, usually the bonds sometimes can help with that. But the main issue for us is to make sure that you're aware of where the money is supposed to be going in terms of the insurance claim, making sure that your insurance company is coming out and taking care of you, and making sure that you guys are clear on your guys' policies. Again, once you find your contractor, they should start working on the property and get to a certain percentage. It varies from the exact percentage varies from company to company, but there should have some sort of amount done. They'll release those funds to the contractor to continue work, usually up to then the 50% mark. Then they'll get their second portion of that, and then to completion, to where you sign off and say that there's no change orders, there's nothing else that you want to fix, and then they should get paid directly. It shouldn't go to you. If it does, then it's kind of you have the responsibility to get your house fixed to that point. If you own your home outright, and you get the check from the insurance company, then again, it's on you to get the property rebuilt. Some of the other things I think that we wanted to kind of relay was that if you go to our website, we have a special, portal kind of set up now for everyone because of all the wildfires that have happened this year. There's a lot of resources in there that walk you through the insurance process, getting a hold of your insurance company, making sure that you have the right coverages, making sure if there's any coverages that, if you're underinsured or whatever, they can kind of help you with that. Our consumer services division is very helpful too. Their number is 1-800-927-HELP. And we have a resource, so I'll make sure when he gets here, he'll pass it out for you. And they can help you with a variety of things from getting questions answered. Sometimes we have problems with certain insurance agents that aren't licensed too, that come out and try to help you guys out, and they're not licensed, they shouldn't be. One thing to make sure is that if you get a contractor that does have a policy, it helps just to call anyway, even though they say that they have a policy and it may be enforced. I don't know how many times, like if we have a policy, right, for your auto, and let's say it goes from January 1 to January 1, but you don't pay it, well, nobody here would know that I have an expired policy until something bad happens, right? So the same sort of thing goes out. Nobody's really made aware that the policy's canceled, so it might just be better protection for yourself, especially at this time, just to kind of make sure that you call and verify that policy still is enforced and that they do have their proper bonds and licenses prior to starting any sort of construction. So, like I said, I really don't have much more than that. If there are any questions or any concerns that people have, feel free to contact me. I'll be here. And once he gets here with all the other materials, we'll definitely get that out to you.
So one thing we've been hearing about, maybe you can speak to it, and that is that people are getting notices about not being non-renewed, their policies. So because they're in a disaster zone and because they lost their homes, isn't there some kind of stipulation that says they still have to renew for one more year or something like that?
I believe that is the case, and I think the commissioner is also working on some sort of remedy for that as well. It seems like people that, especially with a high burn, the high risk areas too, that people are getting canceled or dropped. I do know. I think the commissioner is working on something beyond that, but I do believe that's right there after a year. And I apologize. Like I said, we have all this stuff and all of our handouts and everything for everyone. But yeah, that seems to be the case too. So you can't just kind of get dropped from your policy just because you guys are not going to renew or anything like that. So, but again, call our consumer services division. They'll be more than happy to help you and walk you through that stuff.
We met with a real estate lawyer in Sacramento, and basically he told us they just passed, there's a law that says that you owe money on your property, they can't force you to pay it. You have insurance, because sometimes you owe more than what the property is.
Oh, I see.
So therefore, they can't force you to pay the difference. You can just carry it on and keep making payments on it and still have your house rebuilt.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that's always possible. Like I said, I don't know exactly all of like the nuances and stuff especially with the different insurance laws and when lawyers get involved. But my partner just kind of showed up, so hopefully he can kind of help kind of add to some of the situation and maybe provide some clarity. Yep.
So Rick and I are here from our enforcement branch, and I don't know if he told you, but our consumer service division on our website. And I have some handouts here that have a lot of details. But there's three things that they always have us, they want us to say regards to the work comp for a contractor. And please stop me if it's, okay, all right. So make sure that they have work comp. Work comp is to cover employees that are injured. If you have work done, you're liable as the homeowner if the contractor does not have work comp. So that's a big, huge thing to know. The general liability insurance, did we talk about that a little bit? That covers damage that a contractor may do, such as maybe damaging a sewer line by accident. So that's something that wouldn't be covered by work comp. But if they have general liability, which is my understanding is not necessarily required, but kind of highly recommended to go with a contractor that has general liability insurance. The third thing was, this is kind of key, is to verify. You're going to want to see their workers' comp. There'll be a declaration page, if not a card. But the declaration page is not something unusual to ask for and to be able to get a copy of. It's just a one-page declaration page. And the main thing there is it'll tell you the policy number, and who holds that insurance, what carrier or what agent. And the one thing that our Consumer Services Division always recommends is that you call and verify that. Kind of relative to maybe like your auto insurance where you get the renewal in the mail and you get that little card and you go put it in your car, but until you pay the bill, that's not really accurate, but you could show that card and it would look like you had insurance. So if a contractor has workers' comp, they show you it, always call to verify is something that our Consumer Services always recommend. And that's nothing out of the ordinary for you to ask the contractor for that. I think that those are the main three things that they wanted us to go over. Did you talk about a contractor's bond? That's kind of more your area. Oh, okay. So, yeah, that was it. To basically, I have some handouts here that have what to do after a disaster for your claims. Our website, right on the front page, it says click here for disaster awareness article, pamphlets. So all the pamphlets that we have here, if we do run out, they're all on the website. They're all in PDFs. So we'll hang around here, and if you have any questions, please let us know. Thank you.
Thanks, Ian. Thank you, Rick. I should mention too that, the Contractors Board works really closely with the Department of Insurance. We work hand in hand after the disasters. So one of the things, if we do see that there are problems, then we would look to you to help identify if you are at some point seen either unlicensed contractors or people that don't appear legitimate that are coming in to try to pitch you, to let us know about that. If necessary, we'll do things up to and including conducting undercover sting operations where we actually will pose as homeowners, try to get these people out there and get criminal charges against them. If you get caught, as you can see on our sign here, it actually, because of the disaster declaration, if you get caught contracting without a license here in the fire area, it actually could be charged as a felony, so those people would face potential prison time. So we would encourage anybody who comes across that, if somebody gives you a flyer, you get some kind of information, give us a holler, give us a tip. You can call the 800 number, you can send us an email through our website. There's lots of different ways. I should also note too, as you can probably tell by the cameras, we are actually doing a live webcast of this right now, and so you'll be able to, if in case you've missed any of the information or you have some of your neighbors or anybody who may not have been able to be here that you would like them to get the information, you can come to the Contractors Board website. We'll have it posted over the next couple days. And you'll be able to get to that. It's also, I think the county, as we can see right here, is doing a Facebook Live, so you'd be able to find that archived as well through the county's website, through their Facebook page. Okay, at this point, we're going to turn our attention now to architecture. Doug McCauley is the Executive Officer of the California Architects Board, and he's here along with Bob Carter, who's one of the architects who's a consultant for the board. So we'll talk a little about architecture.
Thank you, Rick. And Rick, thank you for doing the poll early on. There's just a handful of people that are anticipating to be working with an architect. Some of you may find out as you go forward that you do need to, but I'll keep my comments kind of brief since it's just a small pool of people that you can talk to us more one-on-one afterwards. So one of the first things you might want to do or need to do with your insurance company is get a copy of your plans. And we actually have a provision in our act that requires the architect or designer to give you a copy of the plans that they designed for you for purposes of working with your insurance company. So that's definitely a provision that you want to take advantage of. We have several handouts over there, including a sheet that talks about that particular section of our law. Other options you might be able to look at would be going to your lender for the property, your bank. The insurance company may even have a copy of the plans. So from there, you might want to start researching the project, perhaps with the building department, find out what the permitting requirements are, get more detail on the fee credit that we learned about. You may find that you do not need to work with an architect. You may find out that you need a special kind of engineer for part of your project. So it's definitely worth investing the time early on, finding out what the requirements are with the municipality. When you get into the part of looking for an architect, like with contractors, we have a searchable function on our website where you can drill down to the county level as well. Don't try to do just one particular city because you're not going to find very many. The best way to find an architect, the best way to find a lot of service providers is through referrals, if that's possible. So definitely do some research with other folks who are experiencing what you are. The building department may tell you need an architect, they may not. There is a pretty broad exemption in our Practice Act as to architecture. So folks who do not hold a license can design a wide range of homes and options for you. And Bob Carter is a particular expert in this area. So Bob, can you talk about how the exempt area works and how it might affect projects?
I just wanted to see if any of y'all could smile out there. I provide the comic relief quite often. There is the exempt category of work that says unlicensed people may prepare plans or instruments of service for single-family residential projects that are no more than 2 stories and a basement in height and are of conventional wood frame construction. So as much as I am an architect, and I would advocate that you work with an architect, you're not required to, unless there's a provision by your insurance company or by your lending institution that they want a licensed design professional. Now let me point out something. Applies to us too. Homeowners, beware. Check the license first. A person who does not hold a California architect's license may not call him or herself an architect or qualified to provide architectural services or any other use of the A word, if you will, to describe the services and what they do. That's a misdemeanor violation of state law, punishable by 6 months in jail and a $1,000 fine. It's called misrepresentation. So if any of you all are approached by somebody saying they are an architect or they could provide you architectural services, please go on our website. It's very simple. Go on the website, look for license verification, insert the last name. If they don't come up, they ain't one. So stay away from them. And you can certainly report them to the board. So that unlicensed activity, it happens all the time in these sorts of tragedy situations. When folks come out, they want to go, I'm just as good as an architect. You can hire me and I'll do the job for you. Please be careful. We brought along a handout for you that I want to advertise. It's called a guide, Consumer's Guide to Hiring an Architect. This is good stuff, even if you're hiring an unlicensed designer. It says good things like have a written contract. Do not do anything with anybody on your property without an executed written contract. Architects are required to have one by state law, and it's a violation of the licensing law for them not to have an executed written contract. The more specificity you can have in that contract, the better protected you are. There are only 5 basic elements that are required by our act, but this shows some of the other things you might want to talk about in your contract, like setting a budget and setting time and those sorts of things. So with that, I'll shut up.
We'll see. So you've identified that you need an architect, you've found some on the website. Take the extra step to look at their disciplinary record, because you've only done half your job if you found them and you know that they have a license. See what kind of issues they've had in the past, or if their license is completely clean. Check references. It seems like an obvious thing. So many people forget to do so. And ask really good questions. What kind of projects have you done? How many have you done in my area? Do you know what you're doing? Do you know the code? Do you know the building department? A lot of good questions you can ask to find out if someone really is the right architect for your project. The contract, we can't emphasize enough. You take your car to the shop, you're signing something. So why in the world would you want to do something like a home and not have a written contract? We see cases every year, dozens and dozens of cases where people didn't use a contract. They figured, I've got a good relationship with this person, I seem to be working well, we don't need to put it in writing, we'll just have a handshake and a slap on the back. Those are the projects that go sideways. So Bob reviews these cases for us, and again, this could be if you're using an unlicensed designer, it might be something you want in your contract with your contractor, but can you talk about some of the common problems you see in contracts?
Well, first, not having one. 2, leaving out certain elements. 1 that requires a definition of a procedure for handling additional services. Okay, I'm going to hire you to mow my lawn, and we agree on a price, and you're going to do it for me for $100. But, oh, by the way, I want you to trim my wife's roses, and I want you to trim the trees over here, all for that $100. Well, that's an additional service. How are we going to resolve that issue? That needs to be written into your contract. You will do no additional services without full authorization. So those are kind of important things to have. Another thing is a method for both parties to terminate the contract. You should not be an indentured slave to anybody, nor should the architect be an indentured slave to you. There needs to be a procedure for both parties to terminate the agreement. There needs to be a method of compensation defined on how's it going to be paid, ideally how much is going to be paid, and when. Most of the complaints we see always come down to money. He or she charged me too much, they didn't deliver what I wanted it to be delivered. Get it in writing so you have a clear understanding. Excuse me. We do not have a provision like they do for homeowners, contractors, home improvement contractors, to minimize the amount of retainer that an architect can charge. I've seen people pay architects 100% of their fee up front. And more often than not, the architect skips or doesn't perform all the services. Hey, we're just people too. There are cockroaches in our group just like there are cockroaches with the contractors. You want to make sure you judicially follow your payment policy and payment plan. Don't pay before any services are delivered. I had a consumer call me one time and said, I got a problem with my architect. I go, what's the problem with your architect? Do you have an agreement with him? No. But he's been working on my house for a year. I go, oh, good. So where are you? He goes, I don't know. I haven't seen any drawings. Okay, so have you paid him any money? Yeah, I paid him $75,000. The little devil that sits on this shoulder over here almost wanted me to tell that person, you know what, I'll do nothing for you for half that amount of money. Be judicious. Watch your money. There are people out there that should have you part with it as they possibly can. We'll be around for questions. I also have my business cards. I can leave cards with you, so if you have follow-up questions, you can contact me directly to get probably more detail than you ever wanted.
A couple more quick points. Speaking of the financial part, it's doubly important to have that really drilled down in your contract, because if you need to resolve it, if things do go bad, you have to go to court. The board has no authority to resolve that for you. So be on the same page on the fee side. Also have a realistic budget. Generally, the design budget for a project is going to be between 15 and 25% of construction costs. So keep that in mind. And also keep in mind that the more clarity you have at the front end of the project that's spelled out, the better you're going to be, because changes cost money. Your contract should address how many times you're going to see different types of documents from the architect, so there's no surprises as you get down the path. And then lastly, document all of the key decisions. If something changes, if something's buried somewhere and you have to do the foundation differently, document that. That way, if there is a problem down the road and you need to come to us, we can help you sort through it, and you've got evidence to make your case. So with that, like with contractors, we have an 800 number, 800-991-2223. Bob Carter is available anytime you need to actually speak to an architect about your project. Bob's available. We definitely want to be there to help you. So thank you for having us tonight.
So I'm going to make one final statement, before we turn this over to Q&A, and that is, you just heard a lot of really important information, a lot of good tips. It can be kind of scary information. It almost seems like, wow, I'm not sure I want to hire a contractor with all these different things I need to know. You need to also be aware there are many good contractors out there. We have a lot of really good contractors in this area, and Rick talked about the new zip code check, looking for a contractor on the CSLB website. But there's also another thing, the Valley Contractors Exchange. They serve Yuba County area. They reached out to Yuba County contractors, Butte County, Colusa, Glenn, and Sutter County. And what they did is we actually have one contractor in here. If you want to hire a contractor, a lot of times the building department, they'll come in and they'll ask us, so who do you recommend? Unfortunately, we can't make referrals because it's kind of like favoring one contractor over another, so we refer them to the exchange. Well, most of the time they deal with commercial or public works contractors, not residential. So what they did is they reached out to all these other contractors in the area, and they set up a website. I'll make sure I get the information to Yuba County. And it's called rebuildbuteyuba.com. On there, you can click on it, and you can search for the kind of contractor you're looking for. It says find a contractor. You can click it and say it's a manufactured home. That's a specialty license, specialty contractor. So if that's what you're installing, you can look for manufactured home. And they've already gone in and checked the license board website. They also have links to it and made sure that those are licensed, truly licensed individuals, so that if you want to call that individual, this is somebody who's local. So that's another resource for you. And just to let you know, there are good contractors. The main thing that we do with the board is consumer protection, so this is why we're giving you all these tips and just kind of want to keep you informed.
Thanks, Nancy. In some ways, I don't want to say we want to scare you a little bit, but we want you to be aware, and as Nancy said, there are great contractors out there. And to help keep things in perspective, the Contractors Board every year gets about 20,000 complaints, and with 282,000 contractors. We, in any given year, only get complaints against 3% of the contractors working out there. So the vast majority of contractors are going to do good work for you. They're not going to, their goal is not to rip you off. What our goal here tonight is we want you to go in with a healthy skepticism, and you want to ask. A good contractor is going to be happy to show you his insurance policy. He's going to be happy to show you his license information. He's going to be happy that you're asking the questions. A lot of times, when complaints get filed, it's because there's some kind of a disagreement. The contractors would much rather work with a homeowner who's professional, who has the paperwork, who has the evidence, who's easy to work with. The last thing they want is like the person Bob was describing, how, okay, I want you also to do this and to do this, and I don't want to pay any more for that. That's the last person the contractor wants to be. So they are not going to mind if you ask them questions, and they're not going to mind, proving, because it's not easy to get a contractor's license. They have to pass a criminal background check. They have to demonstrate experience doing the kind of work. They have to pay for it. They have to have their insurance. So they're happy to tell you that. So don't be afraid to ask them that. The vast majority of contractors are good. During the architect stuff, Doug mentioned things about if there's a change in the contract. Same thing is true in construction. Certainly other things come up, they're called change orders. So I did want to mention that if you do have any change orders in your contract, you want those to be signed by both you and the contractor that, okay, this is an addition. You agree to do A, B, C for this amount of money in addition. You both sign it, it goes in, and then becomes part of the contract. I also want to put a pitch in one of the items we have here, and I did mention that if things do get to a point where we might need to do a sting operation, one of our challenges is to be able to find a property to be able to use for a sting operation. And since I'm talking to a lot of homeowners, if we do get to that point, I would encourage you to take that and get in touch with us if we do get to that point. Let us know if you'd be interested if we do get to that point and possibly letting us use your property to set up a sting operation. You won't be there for the operation, and it's a very safe process. We do these every week somewhere in the state. So if that's something that you might be open to, if we do, and hopefully we won't get to that point, but if we do, we'd encourage you to get in touch and let us know that you'd be interested in helping us out on that. Okay, at this point, though, we do want to give you a chance to ask questions. We still have all of our participants who are here. So if you do have questions, maybe I can call all of them up and we can go ahead and answer your questions and make sure you don't leave here with anything unanswered. Or we can leave right now. Yes, ma'am.
mentioned about the insurance being canceled.
Yes.
And
Ian? Yes.
I don't know, someone over there said that insurance was being canceled and the commissioner passed something that insurance couldn't be canceled on renewal.
Yeah, for the most up-to-date, I'm going to have to refer you to our website. I know it's kind of a canned answer, but our consumer service division has a 1-800 number. It's 1-800-927-HELP, H-E-L-P, and they'll answer that. They'll get back to you. When it comes to the actual coverage, that's where the consumer services division can really answer those questions for you.
Okay, so you don't know if that really did happen? They
No.
passed something, but you couldn't-
I know it was in the news again, but the specifics of it I don't know. So I'm sorry.
He is working on it. I was with David Jones.
Yeah.
In December, the commissioner, and he mentioned that he's working on that because we had that happen to us, but we didn't lose anything because we're over across the road here. And he did inform me that even if say your house survived, but then you lost your outbuildings, you're still allowed to renew your insurance for one more year. They can't cancel it on you. They can't non-renew it is the word, not cancel, but non-renew. And so he said they're working on it. They're doing some updates to it. And what had happened is there was a lot of adjusters that came from out of state, and they don't have that in their state, so they weren't aware of this California requirement. So a lot of people were being forced into new insurance claim, and new insurance companies that didn't really need to do that.
Not realizing that they,
So before you do something like that, check their website, find out, send in the email or do whatever you need to do, call in. Don't be forced into another company until you get the details.
Any other questions?
Here you go, see you. I'm actually going to have to use this one.
Thinking about replacing the old modular with the new modular, because that one burnt down. Okay, the people that we were going to go through, they sell the modular homes, said that we would have to have our insurance to cover their contractors to come in on the property. So basically what you're saying here, that they have to have their insurance as well?
Yes, as I would understand it, yes. No, Ian or Rick, if you have any idea on that, but it would seem to me that the company, if they're doing the installation, they should be required to have insurance to cover their people. I would recommend that they have the general liability to cover damage. As we mentioned, that's not required, the workers' comp is. I would be very hedgy about going with a company that says that.
What company was that, just out of curiosity?
Chico? I can't remember the name right off the hand.
Is it Cousin Gary's or exactly the?
It's as you're leaving out of Chico, there's like Cousin Gary.
The question had to do with a company that was going to come out and do the mobile home installation, but they said that the homeowner needed to pull his own, have insurance to insure the workers coming onto their own property. So, and actually, if that might be something we'd want to follow up on. So I'll get the information from you. We have actually one of our investigators here. We can maybe grab that information, and we can follow up to make sure maybe it's, maybe educate them or something more severe. If we have complaints, maybe there's something. So we'd be interested in following up with them. Yes, ma'am.
you have a contractor that mostly works with subcontractors, who does the insurance if they hire people?
Well, you should, the question is, if you didn't hear it, who makes sure, how does the insurance work for the contractors if they use subcontractors? Every subcontractor should have insurance to cover their own workers. Ultimately, the general contractor is responsible for the entire project. But if he's going to have a framer come on and they've got workers, you're going to want to do the same due diligence as you do with the primary contractor. When you hire that contractor, if he does, you want to ask him, give me a list of your subcontractors, and you're going to want to do the same due diligence, make sure their licenses are good, make sure they've got their proper things. More questions? Yes, sir.
Want to follow up with the insurance that a manufactured home dealership may want you to carry. It could be called a course of construction insurance. And what that insurance would be is added to your homeowner's policy to cover the manufactured home if the event of it getting destroyed before it's actually set up and becomes part of your homeowner's policy. So it's a short-term policy that's just for the duration of the setup in case of a fire, lightning, so on and so forth. So just trying to clear the air on that. And that may be what that dealership in Chico was asking you to get, was something to protect that home while it's being put together, because until it's set and it's final with the 433A or whatever you're going to have as far as a permanent foundation system, we want to make sure that home's covered under your insurance. Okay?
Thank you, that's very helpful.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
Can your insurance guys talk about, okay, you have coverage, and they give you a dollar amount of that, and then they have fair market value that they figure into that, and then you have rebuild cost. How does all that work?
I'll let you guys wrestle over it.
Yeah, I know that partly through personal experience in the past, that varies per the policy that you had. So that would be something that I would have your carrier clarify with you, or it might be that fine print in your policy on what they're going to cover, because there's fair value replacement, there's full value replacement, and your premiums will probably reflect that. But I know there is variances in that. So I would almost refer you to your carrier and just have them explain to you exactly what your policy covers. That's the best I can do. Yeah, and then again, our consumer services, I know I keep saying that, but they are there. They answer the phone, they get back to people. if any questions that arise, or you want to go to them first and then go to your carrier, so you know what to ask. It's a really aggressive consumer services division that we have.
And that's in your information.
Correct, yeah. Our website is insurance.ca.gov, but we have the blue bags here with all of our handouts specifically about your claim after a disaster, residential claims, and the 800 number and the websites are there too.
More questions? Yes, sir. I'm going to throw this to you. Hold on a second.
When are we going to get our bills for this debris removal?
County. Here we go.
So the bills for debris removal are going to take a little while. I'm probably going to have to wait till the state comes up for a per property cost for each. They're going to give a per property breakdown on each property, and until I receive that, I'm probably not going to be able to go ahead and deal with insurance or deal with you personally for the debris removal insurance portion. So you're going to have to hold on a little bit. I'll try to get some updates as I know more information on that and how long it's going to take after this process. We've got a little bit of time still on the process we're in now.
I got one question for somebody here. I was dealing with a mobile home company, told them what I wanted back in October, gave them money. They were going to build it. They wanted more money, we gave them more money, and then they come back 2 weeks ago and said, oh, we can't build that. Where do I stand now? Who do I go to now? Sacramento. These guys did the same thing. You didn't give any money though, but I did. Homes Direct, Sacramento.
It's a contractor thing, so we'll kind of circle on with one of our investigators is here. He can talk to you about it. Okay. Any other questions?
I think I have a couple more.
I understand, got some clarification on the sprinkler systems in a stick-built house, and that is required by state law to have in-home sprinkler systems. I understand that the manufactured home mobile homes do not require in-home sprinkler systems. Is the county still going to require a 3,000-gallon tank for suppression?
So the state, it's actually a statewide code as far as if you're within an area that is, and Nancy can go over this in probably more detail than I can, but basically, if you're in an area like Loma Rica where there's a potential for wildfire, there's a statewide code that you have to have a 3,000-gallon storage tank, and that has the proper hookups so that in the event that there's a fire, they have water available to fight that fire. And so, unfortunately, you have the homes that were lost. Obviously, the majority of the homes lost didn't have tanks originally. As you rebuild, but the tank wasn't okay. So there's probably a little bit more here to the story. So the tank is really for the fire department to use to draw. I understand, but regardless of what happened in the Cascade fire, moving forward, there is a requirement that each home that's going to be rebuilt is going to need a 3,000-gallon tank or equivalent.
Guarantee me that the fire department's going to come put my house out?
No, obviously we can't guarantee you that, but we can guarantee you that the state code's in effect and requires that 3,000-gallon tank.
The standard on that 3,000-gallon tank says it requires a 4-inch brass hookup. None of the fire engines up there use 4 inches.
We have a.
It's useless.
Right. So we have a handout, and it gets back to what CAL FIRE is requiring as far as the hookup associated with that 3,000-gallon tank. And it is available at the county, either at our counter or on our website.
But specifically, what about in-home sprinklers?
So in-home sprinkler system is another one of those where it depends on whether your home is going to be a manufactured home or a stick-built home. Manufactured homes are exempt from that sprinkler requirement, but if you're building your home, you're going to be required to install sprinklers. Now the sprinklers aren't to keep the home from burning down. The sprinklers are there to enable you to get out of the home in the event of a fire. So the sprinkler system is fairly low level. It's a fairly small tank and a couple of sprinkler heads, and the purpose behind it again is just to make sure you can safely exit your home when there's a fire in the home. And Nancy?
I also think you're going to find out that most of the more the newer versions of manufactured homes are going to come with sprinklers. It was the transition code when we weren't having sprinklers that a lot of them didn't have it. So it just depends on which model you're buying, what year, whether it's going to have sprinklers or not. The other reason for our state code, it's kind of out of our hands. It's a regulation that's required. It came through many years ago. And as you rebuild, you have to put it in. It's also a hazardous mitigation requirement, and Russ might be able to help with that. But it's in regards to like when we have FEMA and everybody come in, when there's disasters, we check the boxes that we meet all these different requirements. And sprinklers is one of those key areas for the wildland-urban interface. And this area is a wildland-urban interface area. So it's kind of, there's a lot of other reasons why that this all kind of is in place.
So if I could, we had a question about debris removal earlier, and Clark, not trying to change the subject, but I wanted to make sure the debris removal, because that is something that's current, and it has to do with the insurance side of things too. That is usually a separate item on in your insurance coverage. And when you talk about the bills and what's coming next, we also want to make sure that debris is, whatever hasn't been cleaned up, that you have an opportunity to clean that up and seek, if you have debris removal coverage, seek reimbursement from your insurance company prior to working with Clark.
So I'll expand on that a little bit. I have an actual handout out here for everybody. When you get out, it talks about the insurance and how it's specified or unspecified, how it's used. But there's one thing that I probably didn't get out to you guys at the when the initial fire happened, and I started having communications with you about the insurance, and that's something I didn't know until later. But you can take the insurance that you have for debris removal prior to paying me that portion. You can use it to get rid of your trees, your stumps. If you have, burned out fences that hadn't gotten removed yet, you can professionally get that done, paid for, save the receipt so that you can prove that you paid for it out of your debris removal portion of your insurance. And for an example, if you had $5,000 in debris removal, it cost you $2,000 to deal with your trees and your fences. You give me the receipts for $2,000, I bill you $3,000 instead of $5,000. So the goal is that your property is completely clean prior to paying me. And if you're really good at it, maybe you pay me nothing, right? That's really what you want to get down to, right? So make sure that you use it as well as you can before I come knocking, okay? So and you're more than welcome to talk to me, call me when you're going through that rest of your debris removal process. So and there's some handouts that talk about it as well and kind of reinforce what I'm saying. There was another question I want to get to real quick, is people were talking about the flags on the property. The flags outline where your structures were and where your samples were taken, and they need to stay there until you receive clean bill of health across the entire property. Once the samples come in clean, what they'll do is they'll send out a erosion control team up there. They'll do erosion control, they'll do a waiver for erosion control, and then shortly after that, I'll receive a sign-off, a final sign-off form. When I receive that final sign-off form, I will give you a call. So you'll know the minute, and it'll be the day or the day after. I usually try to do it the day I receive it, so you guys know. Once I receive that final sign-off form, what we'll do is we'll go into the building database and we'll make sure that you're cleared for permits from debris removal. That means, hey, you have the property back, you guys are ready to start building and start doing the permit process to rebuild. So, and I think Cheryl, I just called you probably yesterday, right? So, and I got about 24 this weekend, so they're coming. So I wanted to get that across to you. And there's one more comment, is there's a Realtors Association survey that's been going out. If anybody hasn't got that survey, please go to Shelley right there and get that survey. Part of the survey is they have money coming in, and one of the things they're looking at is actually paying for your water suppression tanks. So that may be a solution for your water suppression tanks as far as that goes. So there's a question on there. You can fill in stuff like septics that may not be paid for septic repairs that you've got to deal with, driveway issues that you might have to do coming up on your rebuild. I would highly recommend writing down ideas that you say, hey, here's expenses that I'm not covered and I need to get done. Write them in there, and that may be, if they get a big enough push in one direction, they may offer that as some financial assistance for you guys, okay? So make sure you guys fill that out. I've been trying to drive around. I know Shelley's been handing them out, but I want to make sure everybody gets one and turns one in, so.
And kind of getting back, because there's a lot of code questions, fire tanks, fire sprinklers. There's going to be questions about clearance around your home, making your property fire safe moving forward. We're anticipating having a future town hall meeting specific to those issues, because I know there's a lot of questions about that, and we want to make sure those questions get answered. And so that wasn't really what we were prepared to get into tonight. We really were kind of focused on the contractor licensing issues and insurance issues. But
Thanks. One thing I can also say, if anybody is still looking for debris cleanup, if you see the last page of the handout that we had, it shows the different licensing classifications and who's properly licensed to do that debris removal. So you might want to just take a look at that if you're still looking for that.
Sorry. I have an insurance question. We've gotten the check to go back to our mortgage company, and they have control over it. All of our outbuildings have been destroyed, and they are giving us a hard time trying to get reimbursed or to get those buildings out. How much control do they have? Because they said if we get the money, if we request the money back, that we're in default of our mortgage agreement. The outbuildings have nothing to do with the primary house, which was, bless the Lord, that was untouched. But everything outside of it was destroyed. So how far can I go as far as my rights to get that money to redo the outbuildings? Because they are saying that, we're underinsured. So they're saying there's $225,000 worth of damage. We have $41,000. We can't do the 224. So where do we go? What's...
And that's your mortgage company?
Yes, our mortgage company.
Yeah. Again, I would call our consumer services. I know I've said it again, but I'm going to say it again. And what they can help you with as far as the insurance portion. It seems like you have the complete story from your mortgage company. Bring that to our consumer services and get their insight. I know you're not the only one that is dealing with the fact of, unfortunately, finding out that you're underinsured. Again, if your outbuildings weren't covered under your homeowner's policy.
Well, they were, but only
Yeah,
41,000.
only
We didn't know.
Yeah. I would highly recommend to call our consumer services with all that details like you just said, and get their insight.
Okay. And then the other thing is about, if you had permits, if we wanted a different structure versus whatever, do you have to get a new permit for that? Or since you had an existing thing there?
So her question, and I think is it related to the outbuildings specifically? So say you had 3 outbuildings and combined they had 3,000 square feet of area. You have 3,000 square foot of credit then, so to speak. And so you could build those 3 buildings again. You could build 1 large building. You have options with the county. When it gets back to waiving the fees and working with you. So for that.
And I'll say too, Rick and Ian said that anybody who did have an insurance question, and we'll get together with you, is actually give us your contact information. We'll have somebody call you. We're not going to send you through some tree to get things. So please give us your information, and we'll have somebody contact you back, so you don't have to wait.
Is anybody here can help me to do my insurance? Because they haven't even given me amount to rebuild or anything yet. And it's been over 2 months.
Is for your insurance company?
Yeah, they haven't even given me an amount.
Well, maybe what we do is we can have our representative, maybe they can sit down with you afterwards and they can find out what's up.
More questions?
Let me make a quick comment here. As most of you know, I am an insurance broker. But here's what I'd highly, highly recommend that you do. If you have insurance, sit down with your insurance agent, broker, whoever it is, take a notepad, take your questions, and write them out. Clearly ask what your questions are. What are my limitations? How does replacement cost work? How does actual cash value work? Let them explain to you. It's a contract. This is California. You have contracts. That contract follows, your coverage follows the contract. So list it out. If it's not clear, clarify it. If you still don't understand it, there are resources, whether it's here or another agent. Feel free to give me a call. I'll be glad to sit with any of you, anytime, at a county building, my office, my home, wherever, just to try to clarify, what do I have and how does it work? It can be confusing. This is not fun. This is where it meets the road. What did I buy? I've found over the years, a lot of times, that people tend to reduce the value as low as they can to get the premium down. Then comes the loss, then you have a problem. So, your agent, just ask the question. There could be problems. I've talked to Dave Jones several times over the last couple of months. And that's one of the things that initiated the letter that came out, that there were misinformation coming out of how the system works. So it was pretty clear when he sent out a letter that said, here's the rules, follow these rules. He was able to give that information then to other adjusters that weren't familiar with California laws. And I think it did help somewhat, but it's still confusing. So absolutely, go to your agent, make an appointment, sit down, clarify how your coverage works. And from that, I think it'll help you as you move forward. What do I have and how does it work? Because it does get a little complicated. And each policy has a little bit different nuance how they work. I'd like to tell you they're all the same. They do all have very similar characteristics to them. But you want to hear it from the company, from the agent, or the adjuster. If you can get both of them in the room at the same time, perfect. That'll help you. But keep good notes as to what was said and make sure you kind of repeat it back to them. Is this what I understand I heard and how it works? I think it'll help you. Okay?
Great, Supervisor Fleischer, thank you.
There was a question out there?
No, they're going to meet with them afterwards.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if anybody has any questions about their insurances or any sort of issues with their insurances, I'll meet with you at the end, and then let's get down your contact information. I can't promise you any overnight answers or anything like that, or any sort of solutions like right away, but I can definitely look into some of that stuff and get with our consumer services, make sure I get back to you in writing via email. That way you have something to reference later on, so it's not just like, hey, what did he say the other day? So.
Thank you. And again, the bottom line, we did say it earlier, but please don't leave here feeling that you're alone or there's something that you don't feel like you can ask somebody for help with. There's lots of people, lots of agencies. I know we have gone a little bit over on time. We'll be around if anybody has any other questions that we want to. But if not, thank you very much for being here. Know that all of these agencies are here to help you as you continue through this process. Thank you and good evening.
Oh, yeah.
So you bought your home online from direct?
Where? In Sacramento.